Want to gain early access for new Snob episodes, take part in polls or AMAs? Then help support us over at Patreon by clicking the links below in the comments or in the description, or go directly to patreon.com/thecinemasnob. Thanks for watching.
All right. Things often come around full circle here, people. I remember when I started the website, not the YouTube channel, but the website that's currently just our archive site, thecinemasnob.com. I remember starting that and reviewing movies over there, and it was just, it's kind of what the popular style of reviewing movies online was at the time, at least current movies out in theaters. It was like set up the camera and then just, talk about it for 20 minutes or an hour. Then that turned into midnight screenings, where again there weren't any clips or anything like that. It was just very conversational. Then, clips started becoming popular. So I started editing in clips into the midnight screenings, and then we would live stream too. A couple of us, so we did that. A lot of them would be home. We made midnight screenings live, and then that turned into live at home, where again there would be some clips, and then midnight screenings came back. Then I started just like we're all a lot older now. Scheduling is different. It was just easier for me to script it out and do like 4 or 5 minute reviews or something. Then I tried doing that on live streams. Didn't care too much for that. Then brought back the 4 to 5 minute reviews. And now now I'm back kind of where I started, except it's live. Do I have any clips to show you or anything like that? No. And I'll tell you why. Because it's like, all right, well, I mean, my schedule's pretty swamped as it is between things going on here at the house and also all the, the snob stuff I do. I'm like, okay, if I go out and see something in the theater, it's got to be the most convenient way possible. And the most convenient way possible is I go see it, come back here, set up the live stream, and then just talk about it for a bit. I do have notes, because at the end of the day, I'm a scatterbrained guy, so it's like I do still need my notes to kind of look at right here. What movie did I go see again? Oh right, it was the Nun II. Is it number 2 or TOO? Oh, it's the same Nun from the others. Okay, well it's the number 2 then. I hadn't been to the theater in a while, or well, for me, I hadn't been to the theater in a while. When you're used to not only being at the theater every week, but multiple times a week, and then you're not just for a little bit, it does feel like it's been a while. And my stomach always thanks me for that, since I'm not drinking a bunch of soda, eating a bunch of popcorn for a while. No, the last thing I think I went to go see was I was there at Barbenheimer. So I saw those the same day and reviewed them both as well, and it kind of seemed like I'd been gone for a while from the movie theater, because I went back to our regular theater earlier, and it's no longer a Regal. It's a Cinemark. I mean, it still looks the same on the inside, except on the outside, over the Regal sign, they just have a big banner that says Cinemark draped over it. And the biggest bummer of that is that Regal had the best rewards program. It was just simple and straightforward. It's just $20 a month. Go see whatever. You paid your $20 a month? Cool. You can go see The Nun II and whatever else is My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. I didn't even know that was a thing until a couple of days ago, but I think that's out in theaters this weekend. So you can go see whatever you want all throughout the week. The AMC plan is pretty good. That's like, I think, 3 a week or something like that. At least it was when I was living in Springfield and I had the AMC rewards. The Cinemark rewards, I mean, maybe it's fine, but it's kind of complicated. The Cinemark rewards is like, you get 1 free ticket a month. Cool. that really doesn't. I go see a lot of movies, that doesn't help me. But also, it's like a point system. So if you build up a lot of points on there, then it translates into you could probably get some more movie tickets or something like that. I'm just like, just make it $20 a month and I can go see whatever. I mean, even Regal had points, and points you could put towards like concessions and stuff like that, which I would. Like, I would get like free concessions like every other week. Maybe all of this actually explains why Regal is now turned into a Cinemark. Maybe the rewards program was just a little too good. But again, some things were also very similar in that theater. It was it's Thursday. I went to the Thursday 4 p.m. show. It was the 3D screening, and it was in the RPX theater, which is called something else because RPX is like a Regal thing. So is it XD or something like that with Cinemark? I'm not sure. IMAX, basically IMAX is what I'm saying. So it was in there, and I was the only one in there. I was the only one seeing the Nun II at 4 p.m. on a Thursday. So if something went wrong with the projector, it had to be me who gets up. And well, something did. The movie didn't start, so I had to get up and be like, my movie hasn't started yet. And then, so here's a question for the commenters, and even if any of you in the chat know this as well. If you saw this movie in 3D, let us know if the 3D was any good or not, because I did go to the 3D screening, but it was the 2D version of the movie, and I didn't get up to say anything because it was already running late because it didn't start, and I had to get up and be like, yeah, the Nun II hasn't started yet. And I've been at 3D showings before at many theaters where it would be the 2D version that started, and instead of it just simply switching over every single time, they just started the movie over again, but in 3D, and it was always something bad that this would happen with, where it'd be something bad, they had to start the movie over in 3D, and we'd hang out in the lobby for like 20 minutes until it caught up. I didn't want that to happen here. Not that I don't know what I thought this was going to be like going into it. Because as far as the first Nun movie goes, it seems like it's generally considered to be one of the worst of like the Conjuring universe movies. Maybe not the worst, but bottom tier level. And I did, what was that, 2018 that came out? I didn't recommend it. I don't remember liking it that much. I also don't remember hating it because at least like the atmosphere was really good in it. That's like the main thing I remember about it. Like, I don't remember it being that scary necessarily. I do remember it being a good-looking, gloomy, kind of foggy, gothic movie. Like that I remember about it. And so I didn't really write this one, even though I didn't recommend the first one that I remember. I didn't write this off because of that, because that's happened before with these Conjuring movies where I didn't like the first Annabelle movie, but I liked Annabelle Creation a lot, and I loved Annabelle Comes Home. Annabelle Comes Home, I think, is one of the best of the Conjuring universe movies. So with this, I'm like, well, maybe it'll be like that. Maybe it'll, be a step up from the previous ones. They've done that before, with the Annabelle ones. And then I saw who made this one, and the people behind this one, like, they'd also done The Conjuring 3, which wasn't that good, and Curse of La Llorona, which is one that they must have had such little faith in, it wasn't even advertised as a Conjuring universe movie. Just you was watching the film, and then suddenly, like, Annabelle shows up halfway into the movie. So I was like, well, I mean, maybe this one will still be better. And it is better than the first one. It is better than the first Nun movie. It's not... And it's better than Curse of La Llorona. It's better... Maybe it's on par with Conjuring 3. It is not as nearly as good as Annabelle Creation. And like I said, I loved Annabelle Comes Home. This didn't really come close to that. This movie, The Nun II, It is creepier than the first one. It is. They do a good job of the nun looks the same in this as you've seen that character look in other movies. They do a good job of still making this nun look very creepy. There's a very creepy part in the movie involving all these magazines that are flipping over. Whenever the nun is in a painting or off in the background, it does a good job with that. Like, it'll take you a minute to see the nun standing there. And they do creepy stuff with the cinematography sometimes. Like, there's a character opens the door, and just at the end of this kind of overlook hotel looking hallway is the nun standing there. That was effective. It looks good. It does a good job of catching you up on the other movie. I think it probably knows that a lot of people have maybe only seen the first movie once, and that one time might have been the year it came out, 2018, I think. Yeah, because I was still living in Springfield, I think, when that came out. There's one of the main characters in this film I didn't realize until halfway through was in the first movie. Because like I said, there's just very little I remember about the first one. Like, I remember Taissa Farmiga being in the first one, and she's one of the main characters in this too. But there's another character who was also one of the main ones in the first one. And about halfway through, maybe not halfway through, but a bit into this, it catches you up on what that character's, what happened with him in the other one. And it did it in a very, like, it didn't stop the movie dead to provide exposition. It did it in a very organic way where it was talking about something that happened into the movie well. I thought they did a good job with that. Even though this one had more creepy moments that I remember about the first one, fear of the first, I think a lot of the cinematography was probably better in the first from what I can remember. There is a lot of jump scares in this one, but there weren't a lot that were that annoying, and it still did good at build up of a lot. Like, it didn't go too far into feeling too cheap, even though there is a fake out dream sequence in it that was what it was, a fake out dream sequence in a movie that you could easily chop out of it. It's not a very focused film. There's too many characters in it. I remember it got a ways into it, and I'm sitting there even wondering who the main character is in this. Like, there's an investigation story going on with the nun played by with a nun played by Taissa Farmiga and her sidekick in the movie, where they're investigating evil nun-like activity that might be going on at this girls' Catholic academy or whatever. And then there's a lot of stories going on with this school. I mean, this is a movie, some of it really didn't work. Like, this is a movie that's in the 50s in France at this, like, kind of convent, and there's these mean girl bullies in it that you'd expect to see in, like, I don't know, a Disney Channel movie from the past. Not even like Stephen King bullies. I'm talking like Disney Channel original film bullies that are in the movie every now and then. There's some kills in it that are good. There's one early on that was kind of surprising. I was like, okay, I not a lot of people are off limits here. The nun doesn't really have an age limit on who she'll kill in this. So that there's parts like that caught me off guard. You can feel the budget sometimes, and this is what I mean when I say at the least I really liked the atmosphere in the first, and I missed that about this, because in this one there's a lot of sets that it just kind of reuses throughout it to where it'll feel repetitive. I was sitting there going, I swear, if I have to see this one main hallway again, like, it really feels like there's a lot of plot points that are on a loop here, because you see this same, like, sidewalk a lot, this same hallway that is in this movie more than the nun is. That is actually not me exaggerating. There's a hall in this film that should really get top billing in this. So, overall, I mean, I thought this was okay. Like, I was never sitting there hating it or anything, but I did feel like, yeah, I'm here because it's my job. That's why I'm here seeing this. I was never sitting there like, this is a nice surprise. I am so glad I'm in a movie theater watching this. Maybe 3D would have turned that around. I'm not sure. But especially when it got towards the climax, then it was feeling like this kind of needs to end. I wasn't retaining any of it. The climax does go on way too long, and it kind of gets a bit too Marvel-y at times in the climax. There is even a mid-credit sequence. Like, I was sitting there, I wasn't even sitting around waiting for it to happen. I was just like in the not lobby but the area, like there's the hall that leads to the lobby. I was there and I was checking my phone, and then a mid-credit sequence started, and it's even kind of one of those like stock mid-credit sequence that you'll see in something where a character, like, they don't say this exactly but they might as well, where like, you know, it'll kind of end with a character going, we need to talk, or you know, like, we've got lots to discuss. You know, like that ballpark or genre of mid-credit sequences. So as far as a grade goes, hang on, I wonder if I can do this. Hang on, guys. This might look really, really cheap for a second. Cheaper than we already look right now with this setup and these $5 posters I got behind me. I think I could do this. I can probably add a text on here. This is gonna look horrible. This is going to look worse than if I just simply did nothing right now. Hang on. I want to see if I can do this. Oh, I think I can. I give this movie... Come on, you can do it, man. You can do it. I give this movie a C. And that's why this gets a regular middle-of-the-road C, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. It would have looked better if I just, well, that, even though that's from my angle right now, this is backwards. So, yeah, there we go. This looks right on my end. It would have looked better if I just did that. I give it a C because I wasn't, you know, I certainly wasn't hating it or anything like that. I was sitting there thinking this would be fine enough watching it on streaming. That's why I say it's kind of in the ballpark of the third Conjuring for me. It's a step up from the Nun, but not by a lot. Like, and not nearly the step up that Annabelle 2 and 3 were. So, no, I'm curious what you guys think of it. Leave us if you're in the chat talking about it right now, or if you're not watching this live. Let me get rid of this. If you're not watching this live, go ahead and let us know in the comments what you think. All right. Well, that was painless enough. I actually kind of like doing that. I felt like I was more focused doing that. Like, so I like the chat going, it's going to be good when Brad goes, this is going to look cheap. You've come to the right person. I literally made a movie called Cheap. And you've seen my show. You know I work on a small budget. I work on a comfortable budget. Thank you very much. All right. No, I felt like I was more focused, not having to switch over to clips, and also that didn't take nearly as much time. I think next week, Haunting in Venice comes out, so I'll try to see that on Thursday. Let's go ahead and let's go to the super chat right now. I like where this guy's head's at in the chat, going, what does Chat GPT snob think of the Nun II? Maybe next time I do a Chat GPT, I'll have AI write out a script for the Nun for me. Okay, let's Nun X, yeah. We got Saw X coming up towards the end of the month. Okay, let's get to the super chat questions here. Danny McGraw says, hello, Brad. At what age did you decide that Caligula was your favorite movie? 5. No. And at what age would Jack, my son Jack, what age would he have to be before you showed it to him? Caligula, so they used to show the R-rated version of it on Cinemax. But our video store, Family Video, had the uncut version on VHS. So when Age did I decide that it was my favorite movie? Maybe because of how like obsessed I was at getting all of this memorabilia for it and learning everything about the backstory, and even writing a lot of movies where it was my trademark that it gets referenced in them. Like I did Freak Out. I did a movie called Freak Out. You can see the soundtrack album in one part. You can see the DVD for it in Cheap. I know you can see a poster for it in a movie I did called Midnight Heat. Like there's always some kind of nod to Caligula in all of them. So I don't know, it was probably somewhere in high school where I was like, this is probably my favorite movie now. As far as my son going to see it, I like how I say going to see it as if it's playing in the theater now, and my son is going to go check it out on the big screen. Lucky I didn't see it in the theater for the first time, which means you can't either. Also, you're 5. No, I don't know. I mean, it depends on his maturity level, I guess. Like, even if I'm like, oh yeah, he's fine to watch Caligula now, like, I probably won't watch it with him. Kind of like, my parents didn't give a shit when I like went to go rent Deep Throat or Debbie Does Dallas or Behind the Green Door, but they didn't watch the movies with me. Like, my dad probably knew I was watching Bikini Car Wash Company late at night on Cinemax after he went to bed, but he didn't come in there and go, ooh, my favorite part is coming up. The part where she uses her boobs to wipe down the soap on the windshield. That's my favorite part too, Dad. So I don't know. It depends. We'll play Caligula by ear. Jacob Matthew Crawford. Most inspiring movie that isn't about filmmaking. Well, that's an off the top of my head question. I have no idea. Most inspiring movie that is not about filmmaking. Well, let me throw it to you in the chat. Put some choices down over in the chat, and I'll see if I find any of these movies inspiring. I mean, I know movies that inspired that inspired me to want to direct. Caligula being one of them. A lot of Abel Ferrara movies were like that, whether it was Driller Killer or Bad Lieutenant. The better Nun movie, Bad Lieutenant. What did I'm waiting for the chat to catch up. Let's see. Someone goes, I wouldn't call this one of the most inspiring films I ever made, but Secret Life of Walter Mitty, I was one of the few that gave that a really positive review, and I liked it a lot. And it did make me be like, I should try getting over my fear of flying and actually see the world. I do fly a lot more now. Have I seen the world? No. Rocky type movies, way up there. All those 80s movies I grew up with, like Rocky, that'll inspire you as the underdog to get in shape, and then you might not win at the end, but you got very good orchestra playing and a round of applause from the audience. And I grew up in the 80s too, so it was the time of vigilante movies that would inspire you to keep the neighborhood safe. I grew up middle class in Chatham, Illinois, in the suburbs. Our neighborhood was fine. My buddy Mike Phelan goes, I can't wait for the spin-off films, The Bishop, The Vicar, The Pope, His Wife and Her Lover. Call it all, combine it into one movie. He goes, and the inevitable reboot, Nuns on the Run, absolutely. Robbie Coltrane, Eric Idle classic. Hell, The Bishop could also even be a Monty Python spinoff. That is one of my favorite Monty Python sketches. Go look that up on YouTube if you can find it. The Bishop. Like, I want that full movie, an exploitation action movie about a bishop keeping the neighborhood safe. Will Day, if Bruce Lee fought Caligula, who would win? I'm sure Bruce Lee would. And Bruce Leroy, too, for that matter. Yeah, we don't know everything about Caligula necessarily. He could have been an amazing fighter. I'm just saying he was maybe not as good of a fighter as Bruce Lee. I mean, Caligula could have been in the Dragon Lee movie, the one where he dies, goes to hell, and is fighting alongside Popeye, fighting against the Godfather and Emmanuel and the Man with No Name to keep control of hell. Yeah, yeah. Um, Caligula actually would have fit in perfectly in that film. That was the era of Caligula's exploitation, I think. Maybe it was a little bit before then. Regardless, Caligula would probably fit in there more than maybe the Godfather. Brother Fluff Salisbury, nice name, says, "Is there any review where you couldn't stop laughing and had to take multiple takes?" No. Yeah. Usually, whenever I start laughing in something when I'm doing it, sometimes I keep it in. One of the Halloween episodes, it might have been one of the Rob Zombie Halloweens, like I kept in where there was a joke that made me laugh, and I kept the reaction in there. I did the same thing in the Salem's Lot episode. Sometimes I'll keep it in. Usually there's not. If it's one of my own, usually there's not really any time that happens where I'm like sitting there like at a computer by myself in a room looking at the computer just in tears laughing hysterically at my jokes and can't even film it. But crossovers that's happened with. I remember I was in tears. Like it just hit my funny spot. Like it did. I was in tears when we did I think it might have been Force Awakens, where Doug was dressed as Jar Jar, and his Jar Jar costume was overalls, just because that just kind of makes sense. Was overalls, and he kept stepping in the shit and stepping in like feces and saying Piusa, and he was wearing that Jar Jar mask, and so it was kind of echoey when he would say Piusa, and it just got me. Like it did. Like I was sitting there like I'm not even in the scene, and I'm sitting there like I've just got to watch the rest of the filming of this, because it just got me. Like I couldn't stop laughing at it. I probably had to be like, give me a minute, I'm gonna be in the other room for a second. So that one, I don't think I ruined any takes of it. But it it can get stressful where we only have one take to get something. When we did another Cinema Snob movie, and there's the part where we're at that roadside food thing, and Doug is selling the sheep testicles, I think, and they were these like wads of what was it? It was like a lot of flour. It was very doughy, these like dough wads. And we were losing daylight. You can't tell in the scene because they did a killer job with the lighting. And you can't tell in the scene, but it is this close to just being dark out. And so it was like, we got to get this in one take. And luckily, it was a scene where I'm reacting off of eating these testicles. So if I stumble on a line, I can kind of improv through it, or I can still make it work. I don't remember doing that, but it's one you could play with if you're not getting the line entirely down. So that was nervous. That was sort of like, don't crack, man, don't crack. William Long says, "Hey Brad, congratulations. Thank you. I did have some popcorn at the movie theater earlier, and I finished the whole thing." I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. He says, "Hey Brad, congratulations. I'm surprised you've never stumbled upon John Schneider's movies. Bo Duke has become what I imagine D'Souza would be if he didn't make documentaries. His YouTube is full of trailers for him." I've reviewed some, maybe not movies John Schneider has directed, but I've reviewed some that he's in. Maybe not as, there might have been some as The Snob, I can't remember, but He was in Tulsa, and I did a review of that when it was in theaters. I feel like there's probably some other PureFlix movies he might have been in that I reviewed. There's one that there's at least one he's in 1983 in film, Eddie Macon's Run, that he did with Kirk Douglas. It was John Goodman's first movie too. And the trailer for the movie kind of came and went. Like, it didn't get terrible reviews, but not great. It just kind of mediocre all around. And the trailer really was pumping up him making this crossover into movies, into being a movie star. So he was advertised in it more than Kirk Douglas was. But I didn't really grow up with Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, it was on. It just wasn't something. My parents weren't really into it, and so that's like maybe why I didn't necessarily grow up with it. Because if it was on, we weren't watching it. I knew what it was, but I didn't really see much of Dukes of Hazzard till I was older. William Long again says, also as a follow-up, is there any way to see Jesus Bro? I can't find a DVD or a link. Yeah. Jesus Bro is over on our website. I don't know if you can still watch it on Vimeo or not, but you can still get the DVD. The DVD is at thecinemasnob.com. Thecinemasnob.com, basically, it works as both. It serves now as both a archive site. There's a lot of videos on there that aren't on YouTube. It serves as an archive site and also our store, really. Like, if you go to thecinemasnob.com right now, one of the first things that you'll see is just is like all of our DVDs. So Jesus Bro will be among them. You can get it over there. MHW Nation. Do you ever confuse Ike Barinholtz for Donnie Wahlberg? I kinda did when I rewatched Saw 2. Excellent timing on that question, by the way. I haven't confused those two, but I get where your head's at. I can see it. Yeah, I can. I actually just edited the Saw 2 episode earlier for the Cinema Snob. It's over on Patreon right now. It's also going through a copyright appeal, but it is in a way that it's not blocked. No, that's up for early viewing now over on Patreon. It's patreon.com/thecinemasnob. I like Donnie Wahlberg in that movie. It was fun watching Saw 2 again, because Saw 2, I mean, it was an event for me and my friends and I to go see those this opening day whenever they came out. So it's fun kind of reliving that again, watching it. There's certain things I don't miss about that era when it comes to like editing. A lot of that really quick, rapid cut editing that I'll give it this. It's not like it was confusing. When it's a lot of like cuts to 1,000 different things in a second, all of it very violent. It was never confusing. It was like that just was its style. It wasn't that we're not trying here and this scene makes no sense. Like you see some action movies that have bad editing in it, like Taken 3 when he's jumping over the fence and shit like that. It's not like that. Like, it is the style. It's not confusing to look at and you can tell what's going on, but it is certainly of that time when it comes to horror films, or like very, very music video editing where something will be in slow motion for no reason. There's not much style to it. It just is in slow motion. Like, you can tell this shot was not originally supposed to be in slow motion, but it just is in Saw 2. And like, those shots, it does it in Saw 2. I know it does it in like Saw 5, especially when Scott Patterson comes into the series, where it will just like cut to the characters' like emotions. You know what I mean? Like, so in Saw 2, when it's showing Donnie Wahlberg looking at Jigsaw and he's just standing there looking, but then it cuts to these like that kind of thing, like screaming, because that's what's going on his insides, you see. I'm kind of okay with we don't do a lot of that anymore. As fun as it is. Like, Saw 2 is entertaining. Watching it again, it's some stuff about it is hilarious. I talk about, I probably shouldn't spoil it now, but I talk about a lot of this in the review, how like Donnie Wahlberg is like a crooked cop in that movie, and he's like framing. He had framed everyone who's in the house, which makes it look like his character is just addicted to framing people because one character is in the house because she went to jail for shoplifting, and she was, I guess, not framed, but falsified evidence to put these people away. Like, yeah, I guess they actually did this stuff, but Donnie Wahlberg like falsified a lot of evidence that screwed them over. And one of them's just like a shoplifter. Like, what is this homicide detective doing? Like, pulling a Charles Bronson from 10 to midnight. Like, gave her like a bum charge on a drug charge. Like, why? Donnie Wahlberg's really good in those movies, though. Donnie Wahlberg's one of those guys who, like, he can play a burnt-out cop in his sleep, you know? And he does it well. He's good. He's really good in Dead Silence. I haven't really seen much of Blue Bloods, but I'm sure he's good on it. Here we go. Cody Cameron goes, did you ever see Stay Tuned with John Ritter? Hell yes, I did. I am proud to have been on that fan bandwagon for since that movie came out, man. I have been singing that movie's praises. That's a movie with John Ritter and Pam Dauber where Satan Jeffrey Jones, he plays the devil in it, who sells evil satellite dishes from hell that get all of these shows from hell, like Murder She Likes, Dwayne's Underworld, 3 Men and Rosemary's Baby. And there's a part where John Ritter ends up on Three's Company again. It's so funny, man. John Ritter is great in it. He and Pam Dauber work so good off of each other. Jeffrey Jones and Eugene Levy are good together in it. It's a funny-ass movie. It's a really good dark comedy with some good physical comedy. A great animated bit in it too, where they become cartoon mice at one point and have to like use the rules of like a cartoon to survive from this robot cat. Oh yeah. I loved John Ritter. I really did. And when he passed away, that Stay Tuned was the one that I got off my shelf and watched. So if you haven't seen Stay Tuned, you should totally check that out. It's a really great movie. But I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, people. Well, that was a lot of fun. Next week, I'll try to go see. It'd be funny if the sea was still up there. Oh, I'm sorry. It was up here, wasn't it? Okay. Thanks for watching, everyone. Follow us over on Twitter at The Cinema Snob. Subscribe to us as well. Subscribe to us and click the notification bell. That way you can get all the alerts whenever videos come up, whenever we do some live streaming. We did a lot of fun live streamings this week. Check out the one last night where I was reading through some ChatGPT Cinema Snob scripts. Was kind of shooting the breeze on Tuesday about some copyright issues going on with the Shining episode. But, all right. Love you guys. Hope you all have a great weekend. Let's get that King Frat music in here. We'll see you next time.
King Frat. Everybody come join the party.